The Biden administration prohibiting Border Patrol agents from using horses in the Del Rio sector amid Democrat outrage. I'm telling you right now, this is all sorts of dumb. I don't know why. Well, I know why, but I don't understand why you would remove this form of transportation from Border Patrol after you've already taken away their morale and pretty much everything else. First off, it's Texas. It's freaking Texas. Well, you're going to tell us in Texas that we can't ride horses? Are you serious? First off, right? And second off, these are a bunch of city slickers out there in Washington, D.C. telling us what to do about the horses. These guys have no idea what horse reins are. They can't tell the difference between the reins and a whip. I don't understand. Well, I do. Like I said, I do understand. But I don't. It doesn't make any sense. It might make a bunch of sense to them. But the situation at Del Rio is ongoing. And to talk about some of the options that the Biden administration has in situations like this that pop up literally overnight in places like Del Rio is Naim Haroon Sakhia. He is an immigration attorney upstate on News Talk 710 KURV, your 956 drive home. So in a situation like this, and they're already beginning to deport a lot of people, but their locations as to where their final destinations might be unknown. But the tools that are in place right now to disperse this crowd, what are they using?
Well, what they are doing right now, obviously, it's a crowd control plus, of course, immigration issue. We don't know how these people would behave. So what we saw, I think, day before yesterday, a group of these immigrants was being transported from Del Rio to San Antonio, and they took over the bus, and then they fled, and then they were apprehended. So obviously, it's a very tough situation, which the officials back in the southern border are facing right now.
Yeah.
So as far as the practicality of that goes, that is obviously there's a big gap what we are seeing between the ideals which are being promoted through perhaps White House or congressional offices and all that, and the officers who are actually dealing with it physically, and that gap has to be filled. And unfortunately, it's getting wider right now because what we have seen today is a special envoy from the White House who was supposed to deal with this issue or with Haitian immigration has resigned.
Yikes. That makes things more complicated, I would say, in the very least. Well, first off, about the bus situation, you're between a rock and a hard place as the Border Patrol, because it's not like you can just call out at them and say, hey, could you please come back? You can't. You have to actually go out there and physically apprehend the guys. But this guy, the special envoy to Haiti, Daniel Foote, I think his name is, he submitted the letter of resignation over the expulsion of these migrants. And now what happens?
Well, obviously, his resignation is not going to make a whole lot of difference because the administration has already committed, based on what they said last week or over the weekend, that they will start expelling people under the Title 42 authority. That Title 42 authority allows or give authority to the immigration officials to expel somebody who has been through areas where some kind of virus is prevalent, and COVID-19 is that virus right now. So under that authority, they are sending people back. Now, the caveat on this is this. Federal judge in D.C. basically said last Thursday that you cannot expel people who have minor children with them. But at the same time, that ruling was delayed in terms of effective date by 2 weeks. So that gave administration an opportunity to go ahead and again expel those individuals who they feel are danger to the society, in the sense that they are bringing perhaps medical urgency or emergency or medical catastrophic situation into the United States. So that is the basis on which these are being expelled right now. And that those flights which are coming to Haiti from the United States and also Mexico are bringing a lot of people. So that is what is going on right now. As far as the options are concerned, I think the administration is intent on carrying out these expulsions at this time. And if and when the ruling becomes effective that the children who are part of the group or the family who is trying to migrate cannot be sent back, those people will be given an opportunity to what they present an opportunity to present their case, but officers have been given authority to do what they call expedited removal. So about 3 days ago, Department of Homeland Security issued a memo in which they said that people who are allowed in, even for the asylum claim, will not go through the normal asylum process, but through expedited process.
Our guest on 710 KURV, your 956 drive home, is Naim Haroon Sakhia. He is part of the Sakhia Law Group upstate on our guest right now. And we're talking about the migrant situation in Del Rio and what the Biden administration is doing to send back a lot of these illegal Haitian migrants. Now, there's a situation in Mexico as well because they had sent some security forces because they're getting kind of tired of the situation as well. I imagine. I'm not going to speak for them or anything like that. But have you been able to come across any cases from either this situation in Del Rio, or I know you can't really speak in detail about any of that, but if you could just ballpark, I guess. Any situations that have come from Del Rio or from the recent migrant surge that we had here in the Rio Grande Valley? What the typical situation is for these?
Yeah, so as you correctly pointed out, I cannot specifically talk about any particular case, but I can just give you a general way of handling this. So individuals who go through the initial credible fear interview with the U.S. immigration officer, the CBP officer, they may be allowed to present their case in the immigration court, and if that is the case, then they are given the date on which they have to appear in the court. Those cases are being fast-tracked, essentially, which means that if you are coming through this special situation, then we will allow you expedited opportunity to present your case, so that if your case has merit in it, then you don't just linger in the limbo. But if your case does not have any merit to it, then we come to a decision which is just based on the presented facts and the evidence. So this is how they are handling it right now. Expedited removal, that is one aspect of it. Then the fast-track removal proceedings in the immigration court, which is a good thing because if somebody has a credible fear of prosecution in their home country, then they would want to get their cases settled as soon as possible. And that is a kind of service which is being provided.
You had the immigration system backed up with the surges that were happening before the Haitians showed up. I can only imagine what things look like now. Has there been has anybody added any funding or immigration attorneys to help alleviate this problem?
Yeah, so Biden administration requested Congress about 2 weeks ago for another $6.4 billion to handle this crisis. That included settlement of Afghan refugees, and also some of the funds will be utilized to handle the situation we have at the southern border. And one thing which has been long overdue, is adding immigration judges so that they can handle cases, because the judges you have today obviously are grappling with such a huge backlog, and putting additional cases on them will definitely delay. So the expedited cases or the fast-track cases most likely will end up in the courts of the judges who will be hired for this purpose specifically under those funding requests.
I've always wondered, where do they get the immigration judges from? It's not like you can plant them and there's a tree that pops up and they just pick them, you know?
No. So what we see a lot of them are coming from private practices. Perhaps they have served a CBP or USCIS or EUIR in different other categories or capacities, and they apply for these positions. Remember, the immigration judges are not Article 3 judges. They are not constitutional judges. They are basically administrative judges. So they work for the Department of Justice, and any individual who has the requisite qualification, which of course is advertised by the Department of Justice through USA Jobs portal, they can apply for these positions. Who actually goes into the judgeship, that's a question which has varied answer. And obviously, I don't have the data or details about where all these judges are coming from. But usually, since there is an administrative position, they are perhaps most likely career employees of Department of Justice or individuals who were in private law practice.
Yeah, that seems to be that's always been a big question on my mind because they talk about, hey, well, we need to get more judges, or we need to get more, say, border patrol agents, and like, okay, we're gonna just pull them out of thin air. Like, there's a warehouse just full of guys waiting for this, and we're just gonna pull them out of storage and just place them, in the immigration courts, and we're gonna put them out in the field or things like that. But that's a good inside look as to what's going on immigration wise. Hey, I want to thank you for your time today.